Welcome to Sunday Expressions. I'm glad you're with us today. Wherever you are in the world, I hope it's a beautiful day today. Let's begin with a prayer. Please join me. Anun horie vort voye vokwen Soorp amen. Hayr mer vor herginas yes. Soorp yegetse anun ko. Yegetse arkaytun ko yegetsin gam ko vor bes herginas vervi. Satsmer hanabazur dur mez aysur. Yev tog mez spardis mer vor bes yemek togunk merots bardabanats. Միդաներուզ մեզի փորձություն, այլ փրկյազ մեզի չարե, զիքո արքայություն և զորություն և փառք, Հավիդյանս, Amen. Welcome to another Sunday Expression, and we are back at St. Leon, Sirpotz Revontians, the Armenian Cathedral in Burbank, California. We're recording from the choir loft today, and appropriately so since we are in the last days of the old year, getting ready to say hello to the new year, and getting ready, more importantly, for that big message that Christ is born and revealed. You say, wait a minute, we just had Christmas. Wasn't that Christ is born? Isn't that the day? No, January 6th coming up. Yeah, we're in the Armenian Church. We are the only people that celebrate the nativity all the way to the baptism, all the events that take place on January 6th. We celebrated on that day because, as I mentioned last week, we were the ones that didn't have that issue of changing because of the winter solstice. If you didn't watch it, good thing that we have archives. Make sure you check out the story. But for today, there is an exciting story that I want to share with you, an exciting story about what we've been doing in preparation for Christmas. So let me begin by first saying thank you for joining us. Please drop us a line. Let us know where you listen from, who you listen with. Are you with family, by yourself? How you listen. And more importantly, tell us how you learned about us, because we're trying to grow this and we're looking forward to new doors being opened in the year to come. For today, let's begin with the Sharakan, a hymn of the Armenian Church. As we say goodbye to this year, let's also say hello to the new year with a shout out saying that God is mighty and God is great. This is Soorp Asdvadz, Soorp Yev Hazor, and it is being celebrated by the youth choir at St. Gregory Armenian Church. Soorp Asdvadz, Soorp Yev Hazor. Holy God, holy and mighty. This is one of the most beautiful proclamations that we could make. And in the Armenian Church, the middle section of this hymn changes depending on the season. Vor Haryavi Merelots, who resurrected. Vor Znaviev Haidnetsav, who was born and revealed. Vor Chachetzar, holy and mighty God, who was crucified for us. Yes, Jesus Christ crucified for us. Interpreted, holy and mighty God. Now there's so much theology in these words, and as we go through these Sunday expressions, we start learning more and more. This is a small little sort of a sneak peek to what's to come, because today we're going to be talking about today's message, which at the end of the year, it's rather appropriate that our church fathers give us this message to think about what we do with our talents. Here's Deacon Chris to read from the Gospel of St. Luke.
He said, therefore, a nobleman went into a far country to receive a kingdom and then return. Calling 10 of his servants, he gave them 10 pounds and said to them, trade with these till I come. But his citizens hated him and sent an embassy after him, saying, we do not want this man to reign over us. When he returned, having received the kingdom, he commanded the servants to whom he had given the money to be called to him, that he might know what they had gained by trading. The first came before him, saying, Lord, your pound has made 10 pounds more. And he said to him, Well done, good servant. Because you have been faithful in very little, you shall have authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Lord, your pound has made 5 pounds. And he said to him, And you are to be over 5 cities. Then another came, saying, Lord, here is your pound, which I kept laid away in a napkin, for I was afraid of you, because you are a severe man. You take up what you did not lay down, and reap what you did not sow. He said to him, I will condemn you out of your own mouth, you wicked servant. You knew that I was a severe man, taking up what I did not lay down, and reaping what I did not sow. Why then did you not put money into the bank? And at my coming I should have collected it with interest. And he said to those who stood by, Take the pound from him, and give it to him who has the 10 pounds. And they said to him, Lord, he has 10 pounds. I tell you that to everyone who has will more be given, but from him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. But as for these enemies of mine, who did not want me to reign over them, bring them here and slay them before me.
Thank you, Deacon Christopher. That was a beautiful reading of this parable that Jesus tells us, and it is about using your talents. Did you notice that in the story, that 2 of the heroes of the story, they use their talent? The one that Jesus condemns is the one who has gifts but doesn't use them. All of us, as we get ready for the new year, we start inventorying what we did in the past year, and we look forward to the new year. And what we do is we call them resolutions. Rather than talking about something new that's going to take place in our lives, let's inventory what we do have, the talents that we do have. How do we use them? That's what this parable is about. How do you use the gifts that God has given you? Because you're asked to use those gifts, not abuse them, use them. And actually, if you think about what this message was, you do not have the right to not use them. That's what happened to the fellow in the story, right? He was scared to use his gifts. God gives us those talents, and you can't be scared to use them. Life is here to be lived. If you're going to be scared, there's no sense in the life that God has given you. So take advantage of it. Exploit it. And I want to share with you a small little story. This is a Christmas story because I know we're at the end of the year and we got people like on vacation. And I thought I'd share with you a very nice little story that takes place in my life. And I hope it'll reflect a lot of issues in your life as well. This story takes place in Pasadena, California, and there is a small little house there that gets all decorated, and it's one of my favorite houses to visit during the Christmas season because there is just lights galore and so many beautiful things. You see, when we were growing up in Southern California, there was a big mansion. It was called the Balian Mansion. Balian was famous for ice cream, and they had established quite a presence here, especially in the western United States and California. And they had a mansion out in Pasadena that was really so lit up during Christmas that when people would come out, I remember as a kid, we were living in Hollywood, we'd drive out to Pasadena. My parents would put us in the car, and we weren't the only ones. We'd get to the mansion, and there were people out on the streets watching, and many of you who've lived in Southern California know what I'm talking about. It's the Balian Mansion, and several years ago it was sold, and the new owners have not continued that tradition. So it's something that comes from my past, my memory, as well as hundreds, if not thousands of people have that memory of the Balian Mansion with all the lights, decorations. Now, a few years ago, when we moved, there was a small little house in Pasadena on Las Lunas. And I loved it because it wasn't like somebody had fixed it up. It wasn't manicured. It was just lights on top of lights. And there were images, not only Jesus in the manger, Joseph and Mary, not only the shepherd and the wise men, but there were also cartoon characters, Mickey Mouse characters, people from Looney Tunes. There was even a Batman and a Spider-Man. They were all centered around that manger. And lights on top of lights. And definitely, whereas the Balians was a very manicured and, let's say, a professional experience, this one is a very amateur experience. But I have to tell you, it resonates. Why? Because if you think about it, that's what the original Christmas story was. It was a very amateur expression. I mean, think about it. You take a manger, this is where you feed your horses, and you make it into a crib. That's somebody who knows how to do it yourself, how to make things work, right? Amateurs are the people that bring the beauty into the world. And you think about the message that we heard today about using your talents. Here was somebody who was using his talents. And I would take our kids there every year, and they would just enjoy it, looking at all the lights. You'd see what's called magic of Christmas in their eyes, because they'd see the beauty and they'd get to walk around and run around in all of these lights. And, I did this for so many years with our kids. We'd take them over there, and I got to a point where it says, I cannot just keep enjoying this without doing something in return. So I started taking some money with me to this house, figuring that if I ever saw the guy who may put all this together, I'd reach into my pocket and I'd give him a few dollars and say, let me help out with all of this, at least pay for the electricity. I mean, we're talking about thousands of lights, as you could see in these pictures. So I did this for several years and, of course, never met him. Now, turn came from my grandkids, and I had a chance to take the grandkids a couple of years ago, and we went. And it was just so beautiful because everything was there. And now the next generation is being exposed to this. And again, I took money, and this time there he was, the guy who had created all of this. He had a hammer in his hand or a screwdriver, and he was fixing some part of it. And I went up to him and I thanked him. I said, thank you for putting all of this together. And I said, I can't express how much happiness you brought to my family personally, my kids, and now my grandkids. And I reached into my pocket and I was ready to give him a gift. And I said, I want to help out with, at the very least, if I could pay for some of the electricity or whatever costs you have over here. And this gentleman looked at me. And first of all, he said, thank you. He said, thank you for your appreciation. He told me that his father would take him, when he was a kid, to the Balian mansion. And that's where this love for these lights began in his life. And so, out of respect for his dad, he was lighting up his front lawn so that kids could enjoy it like he enjoyed the Balian mansion. And he told me this story, and I got swelled up and everything. I reached into my pocket and I said, I want to help out a little bit. And he goes, no. He says, I can't take it because it's not about me. It's about him. And he pointed over to the little manger there, pointing the little baby Jesus. He says, if you're going to give a gift that he would want. He says, there's a lot of homeless out there. Give that money to the homeless. And right there, I'm glad I was in the shadow of the lights because he couldn't see, the tears that were coming to my eyes, because this is the message that we've been preaching. And now here is an opportunity for us to give. And sure enough, looked over at the street and there's buses and cars going by, and you realize that there is the real Jesus out on the streets. And then it hit me that this is what we've been sharing throughout the last few weeks. So during this Advent season, as we're getting ready, as the Armenian Church marks its destination of Christmas by giving the shopping list of the Christ child. Let's remember those words. When you give a dinner or a supper, do not ask your friends, your brothers, your relatives, nor your rich neighbors, lest they invite you back and you be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you shall be repaid at the resurrection of the just. And by these words, this was the magic of Christmas. It took place on a little street called Las Lunas. God bless you. Merry Christmas. I'm going to see you next year, on Sunday Expressions. In the meantime, join us at eapostle.net, where we've got daily messages, as well as on the Western Diocese social media channels. And let us know where you listen to us, how you listen to us. Don't forget to subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you when we have another Sunday Expression.